October, he's saying, this is when we're hitting, this is when we're going to need them. Okay? This is when crops are coming in, fruits being picked, this is when I'm going to have them. So it's quite a move to get this camp built in Saranac. It's built near a gravel pit, and they've gone ahead and done the blueprint for it. There's documentation showing how he had to fight and scrap around to get materials. There had to be a well dug. He didn't have the proper supplies for that, or to find the things for fresh water. But in the end, Saranac never came to be. The Army never built that camp, just the one that was at Lake Odessa. This is one of the notes he's got here, where he's trying to requisition 1,000 feet of number 8 electric wire for use in lighting the tents of the Lake Odessa Prisoner of War Camp, reset by the Army at our expense for wire and labor. This camp will be in operation until November 1st or thereabouts. This was used for a POW camp in 1944. So he had his hands full as far as dealing with requisitions because many things were rationed during the war. Another camp nearby is the camp which was called, what do we call this camp? As an Army officer put on a memo I saw this summer. What do we call this camp? It was supposedly, in 1944, Camp Ovid, but later it became known as Camp Owasso. And Camp Owasso, or Camp Ovid as it initially was called, is set on the Owasso Speedway, because the Speedway is shut down in 1944 and 45 for limitations on gas, and so that's where they decided to put the camp. Here are two guards out near the road. This is from the Ionia, or from the Shiawassee County website. But if you go by the Speedway today, you will see this marker, which sits out front. This gentleman right here is Captain Ort, O-H-R-T, and he is making sure that these guys get their script for the week, their payments, so that they can collect their money. You can see the background of the grandstand right there. And here's one of these tents with a funny pitch. This is out near the road today. This is all parking now. Soccer in an afternoon. This was taken in 1944. I found this one in the National Archives 3 summers ago. In fact, both these pictures I found in the National Archives. You can see the grandstand, and way down here you can start to see the POW tents. So this scene is this scene today. It's been expanded, but again, where they're playing, right about in that area right there. One of the reasons why POWs are brought to Owasso was to work in the roach canning factory. Not only did they work there, they worked also in the fields, and some of them worked in the Durand Lumber Company. It operated 2 different times, May to October of 44 and June to December of 45. The second instance it opened in 1945. It held about 400 men when it was closed on the 1st of December. However, the camp has a side story, which you may or may not. How many people know the story about the Owasso girls? I've heard about it. My stance on this has been, I'm exploring German POWs, and I still am, but when I came across Camp Owasso, in order to get the story about POWs, I stumbled on this. And this is Kitty Case, and this is Shirley Drews, and she's about 20, and she's about 18 or 19. And what happens is that these 2 girls who are working in the canning factory make an arrangement just before they quit their jobs. She was engaged, and so she was going to go to one of the Carolinas or one of the Virginias to see her boyfriend. And this one was going to go along. They said, well, let's have some fun. And they made arrangements for 2 of the POWs in the canning factory to meet them out back. And they picked them up that night and went for an overnighter around the community, along with quite a bit of wine that they had picked up. And so we have 2 missing POWs and 2 girls. And this gal, which you can see right here, was the driver. Phyllis is this gal's sister. Doesn't quite know what's going on. She's, I think, 17. And so she's kind of being told, you'll be the driver, you'll pick us up, but doesn't really know the details of what's going on. The girls spend the night, go ahead here, with these two guys near a lake, and they're picked up the next morning by this gentleman and other searchers. And when you look at that picture, what do you?
They look pretty relaxed.
Pretty relaxed, except for the guy who takes credit for picking them up. Okay? The girls are let go the next morning for about 24 hours until the FBI gets involved. And then things get very, very serious for the girls. They're arraigned, serious
charges, and this goes to trial in late January of 45, January, February 45 in Bay City. It's a case. They're found guilty, and if you contrast that with the other one, it's two different stories here. She will serve sentenced to 1 year and 3 months, and I think this one got 1 year and a day, which is what they're sentenced to. But these two guys are interesting when we talk about Gratiot County. They will turn up again. So the two girls will get prison time. The two guys are sent back to the camp in Owasso. Peggy Stripko of Ashley remembered a different type of experience with POWs, which involves one of these guys. She remembers POWs on her family's farm, which was located south of North Star. After two Germans ran away from their detail for 2 or 3 days, the two came across the field with their hands up in an attempt to surrender to area farmers on a rainy day because the farmers were armed and had been looking for them. Peggy's father was one of the farmers who searched for the POWs, and the surrender took place about 30 to 40 yards from the window where she and her sister and her mother observed the event. 3 words, eat, water, cold, were uttered by the utterly dirty, hungry, and wet POWs. Peggy remembered, quote, "My mom wouldn't let us go outside. We had to watch from the window." A farmer took the two Germans to his mother's home on a nearby farm, who gave them food and dry clothes to put on before they were sent back to Camp Owasso. But Earl Klassen, this is Earl Klassen. Earl Klassen is on a farm in the southeast part of the county with another guy, and they make a break for it. This is the second time. And on the same day, he makes a break for it, south of North Star towards St. John's. So apparently the two of them had planned again, we're going to go ahead and do it. And this time, these two guys, after they're caught, are sent to Arizona. Commander Ort, Captain Ort, is sent to Colorado. And the girls go to trial. These girls were not the only ones to have interactions with German POWs. This is a shot from Trinidad, Colorado. This is one of a pair of POWs that walked away from a camp there and stopped at a house which happened to be occupied by a family of Japanese Americans. They were born in the country. They had just been released from an internment camp. They took the two POWs in, we spent the night with them, and helped them on their way. And this also became a case where the girls were arrested and received some prison time for what they did for helping POWs. So Owasso was not the only story. It's the one that's usually known about in Michigan, but it's not the only story. Frat was a problem from day one. The Army knew that. There's even evidence down at Lake Odessa that in the records that came out of Fort Custer that they suspected that somebody was writing notes to help POWs, find their way across the countryside or get help because they couldn't speak English. And it could very well have been women who worked at the canning factory at the Reed. We don't know, but that's what was thought. If you go to Owasso and you go on the back side of that, you'll find a little history about the camp, which was done by a young man for his Boy Scout work. Camp Freeland is another camp in our area. Camp Freeland existed October of 1944. It had 20 barracks.